Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with a daily technical update. It is Thursday, the 25th of September. I do apologize there was no update yesterday, but I was busy doing other things all day from very early morning. And there was not much that has changed the markets until then. But yesterday we saw some interesting movements across the board, and we'll dig into it a little bit later. But I have to say this video is for educational purpose only. There's no recommendation or advice whatsoever intended. So let's crack on here. Let's start with Nasdaq 100 as usual. Nasdaq 100 saw a drop yesterday. Not that much really, but it seems to be stretched a little bit. I talked about it. It's a little bit stretched. However, on the R side, there's no divergence indicating we could see higher levels after a correction, but we need a correction, just a minor one at least. So let's see about that. But on the other indices, there is divergence on the RSI indicating trend exhaustion. So that will be interesting who will win. So Nasdaq 100 set back, testing this steep rising trend line. It's not the strongest one, so to take it merely as a kind of a guideline. Some support here at 24,343. Close below, well, then we're looking at more important level here, just below 24,000. That will be key. A close below there, well, then we could see a larger correction. And you have to remember that this is the end of September, and that's usually when there's window dressing, as it's called, before the last quarter. This is the third quarter, and that is ending. And there's also cleaning house of stocks that they don't want to have on their books, the big fund managers and so on their books when they go into the last quarter of the year. So there could be some clean out of some underperforming stocks, and there could also be a little bit of profit taking for outperforming stocks just to make the third quarter look even better. But let's see about that. Here, pre-markets basically unchanged, but with a little slightly negative undertone. And I think we could see it setting back a bit. Having a look at the S&P500 that had this, it actually had more of a top and reversal pattern in the form of a shooting star-like pattern. Where market shot up here and then it ended lower and leaving this long tail or shadow or wick, as it's also called, testing the rising trend line there. You can see massive divergence excuse me, on the RSI for several weeks, indicating uptrend exhaustion, and we could see a correction lower to possibly 45,000. Sorry, this is Dow Jones. I do apologize. Sorry about that. This is Dow Jones, 45,631. I'm used to that. It's always put on S&P. So yeah, 45,631. So massive divergence there, indicating a correction, possibly down to 45,630, possibly lower to around 45,000. Well, let's see about this. It's just a warning sign. If it takes out the peak from Tuesday, well, then uptrend has resumed. And then now on to S&P 500 that has not formed a top and reversal pattern. It looked like it was going to be a bearish engulfing, but it wasn't. But nevertheless, if it closes below 6,551, well, then we are to a slight lower below 6,500. Here we can see also a divergence on the RSI. You can see that the RSI value is declining, might move higher. That is a sign of trend exhaustion, at least short term. So be careful out there and try not to buy too much of dip. And again, this is not a recommendation or advice whatsoever. The only stock that really went against the trend yesterday was Tesla, that closed higher and has now taken out the resistance there. And there is slightly divergence, as you can see that the RSI declines here, but market moved higher. So let's see, but if it starts sliding back below 425, then we could see it sliding even lower towards 400. But for now, it is still in a bullish trend. Pre-market on the S&P 500 just basically unchanged. Looking at the Asian market that has seen a bounce just above the support there at 25,933. So still keeping this bullish trend, but as you can see here, also negative sentiment on the RSI, indicating a trend exhaustion. So if it takes out the support here, well, then we could see lower levels. However, look at this 55 moving average still coming up there. So the underlying trend is medium-term bullish. Also, the 100 moving average coming 200. So I think correction will be fairly short-lived and not that big. The Nikkei index future is pushing towards its all-time highs there. Let's see if it can take it out. There is divergence on the RSI, as you can see, but it is keeping up there. As long as it stays above 44,250, the bullish trend is intact. European markets are struggling, and it has been for quite a while. One of the best ones is the EuroStoxx50 that has been pushing a little bit higher, but it seems to struggle when it gets to around the 5,500. 5,500 knocked down there. It didn't even get up there. And now it is didn't even get up here. Very close to, but didn't get to that. A few euros from it, and I wouldn't be surprised if it slides back here. Pre-market is slightly lower, as you can see, hovering around this 786 retracement of this correction here, but we are still above all moving averages. They are all slightly rising, and RSI is still in a bullish or positive sentiment because it closed above 60 threshold here, but the past few times you can see has been rejected. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a setback towards 5,400, but we are not really there yet. I don't see massive bullish move to come to play out. On the other hand, we have DAX, and some of the DAX constituents, they are actually also in the EuroStoxx50, of course. Then here we are still in a bearish trend, slightly correction bullish there. It could easily, and I think it will slide lower towards 23,000. However, there is a little bit of divergence on the RSI down here on the below the 40. You can see it has been rising, so that also indicates a little bit of a trend exhaustion, but it needs to close back above 24,064 at least to establish a bullish trend. And see what's going on here. 55 coming down. Will it break below the 100 moving average when it's rising or declining? That would be key here at the coming week or so. Pre-market basically unchanged, but a key support here on the GR40 CFD 23,279. Really key support. If it takes out that, then we're looking at lows at the push down to the 200 moving average and 22,850 area. On the FX markets, euro dollar sat back yesterday, could push lower. I think we will see it testing the 61.8 retracement at 117. Will it slide lower? It could possibly do that. 55 moving average basically flat here. We could dip down to test the lower rising trend line and the 786 retracement at 116.48. If it takes out, and let's just add the horizontal line, if it takes out that 118.20, then uptrend is to resume, and positive sentiment on the RSI is telling us it should do that. The sterling dollar, well, or cable as it's historically called, still in the clouds, trying to get back above it. 786 retracement, just a few cents from it yesterday. Still positive sentiment, indicate we could bounce, but look at this 55 trying to drag it lower. and 100 slightly rising. So there's a conflict going on here. So we could see a little bit of conflict continue to going on for quite a few days. However, I think if we see a break above, and especially a close above 135.36, so I would say 135.40, then uptrend could resume, or is likely to resume. Euro sterling testing this peak here. It's done that for now for a couple of days. So what will it do? Will it set back, or will it actually push higher to the previous peak there at 87.68 and higher? We are in a bullish trend, higher high, higher low, higher high, a little bit of a setback and higher highs again. So let's see about that. What could also play out if this is a trend? It's very irregular trend, but it nevertheless could set back to 86.90, which is the 38.2 of this uptrend here. We could also see this is a more regular move, and that's we have 61.8 at 86.75. So just around, we could see it a little bit setting back before next push higher. Bullish sentiment or positive sentiment indicating likely higher levels. Dollar yen, well, very close to be testing the resistance here at just around 149. Will it break above? That would be key, and it will also be key. Can RSI close above 60 threshold or not? If it can't, well, then it will just slide back, and we can see the 200 moving average coming down there still. It's kind of dragging on it. 100 coming up there, holding a little bit its hand under it. So still in this bigger range here, really. But we are above the cloud, so let's see if it can get a push towards 151 once again. Euro yen slowly crawling higher, and is headed towards 175.5, 138.2 projection of this correction here. I wouldn't be surprised to see that being reached. However, look at this RSI declining still, but trust the trend for now. It is bullish, and RSI, if it moves back above the falling trend line, then there's an indication that it could push higher in the coming days and weeks. Aussie yen, if it will come out from its hiding. Someone's sitting on the cable. Okay, there we are. Has bounced actually before it went down to the 38.2 retracement, which is a little bit surprised that it didn't get all the way down there. It didn't even get down to the 61.8 there. So that's how it is sometimes. That indicates that it is a fairly strong bullish trend that is going on here on the Aussie yen. I think it will test and also take out the peak here and push towards 99.40. It's a resistance goes really far back and possibly also higher. So if that's the case, I wouldn't be surprised to see that. Again, it's not a recommendation. Positive sentiment on the RSI, no divergence indicating higher levels. So that is in the cards as long as it stays above. And let's just add this. This will be my stop if I was trading Aussie yen. I'm not, but if it was, then 97.20 would be my stop. Then below there it would reverse the trend. Sterling yen also bounced from just above the 55 moving average, 61.8 retracement here on just around 199. Also pushing back higher, and I think it will take out the peak there. Positive sentiment on the RSI is indicating just that. I think it will take it out, but again, it will not probably not be with a bang. It will slowly crawling higher towards these levels. And what I will do if I'm a very short-term trader, which I'm really not, and but I will also add a Fibonacci to this and say, okay, we are very close to the 61.8. Can it get up to the 786 and take that out? And that would be key here the next few days and next week. Moving on to Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar is in a correction mode after this strong bullish move there. Positive sentiment on the RSI, no divergence indicating likely higher levels after a correction. Support here at 65.60, just above it still. And I think if it takes out the spike up yesterday, And this is what you can use it for, because it had a go at it, but it couldn't really materialize. 66.30, if it pushes above that, then I think we'll see our trend resuming, and possibly also, or quite likely, take out the peak there at 67 and push higher. And when you see that, then you can then add, I'm just demonstrating it, then you can just add your Fibonacci to it and then say, okay, what will be going on? Can it push higher, and what could be the levels that it will hit on the way, and maybe have a minor correction again. Dollar Canada. Oops, let's just resize there. Massive move yesterday. We were warned about it. Couldn't take out the strong support here, and now it's taking out this little peak up there. Next one will be here at 139.25. I think it will do that, and I think it will push towards the 138.2 projection at 139.54, possibly up to 140, and then we have the 200 moving average coming down to, I think it will be done. RSI back above 60 threshold, sorry. So 140, I think, is in the cards in the coming weeks. Sterling Canada, massive bounce there from the 100 and the 55 moving average, both rising. I think it will also crawl higher towards the 786 retracement at 187.76. And the previous peaks here around 188.30-40 level. I think we could see that as long as it stays above the spike down here and above the cloud at 185.30. Moving on to the Swiss franc. Well, picture is still the same as we've been talking about for days, really. Support down here just above the 93, testing the falling trend line there a couple of times, testing the lower part of the cloud, testing 100 and the 55 moving average. Still positive sentiment on the RSI is indicating it should push higher, but it's really not doing it at the moment. But be careful, it could do it. On the other hand, we are in a bearish trend, and we are below the clouds, we are below all moving averages, so it's a little bit blurry picture. So be careful if you're trading US Swiss. The dollar Swiss trading around, well, basically bouncing, trying to push higher here. We are in a bearish trend. Negative sentiment on the RSI. No divergence, as we can see. This low here is this low we see here, and this low is over here. So there's no divergence indicating lower levels. But we are in a correction phase that could take it higher towards testing the upper falling trend line, possibly spiking up to the 61.8, just around 80 level. But if it takes out, and this is what I will also do, so what's the first warning that it will resume downtrend? Well, if it takes out the lows there, that will spike as 79. If it takes out that to downside, then expect lower levels on dollar Swiss. Dollar index, more or less the same picture, also hovering around the 38.2 retracement there, 97.45 in a bearish trend. Negative sentiment on the RSI, no divergence indicating lower levels, but we could still see a correction that could take it up to at around 98 and below the cloud here. But then we have the 100 coming down, we have the 55 slightly declining, but at least putting a lid on it. Moving on to gold, and we have an interesting development in gold and silver for that matter, but especially gold. So let's have a look at that. Yesterday on the gold spot actually formed a bearish engulfing here. You can see the body of this candle yesterday engulfs the body of the previous day. We are not looking at the spikes, it's the body that we're looking at. So that is a top and reversal indication. And you also have divergence on the RSI indicating trend exhaustion. Then I say, well, it's not that reliable when we are talking about the spot market. No, but we then also have it here on the futures market, where you also have a bearish engulfing, and declining RSI. So also here a trend exhaustion. So what we can do here now, and that is something we can say, okay, let's add the Fibonacci level, see where we have some supports and where we have some possibly retracements areas. We have in the region here at the 38.2, and some support here just around 3,623 on the future, but also here on the spots, so around 3,610, 710 area. We could see it sitting back to that. If it closes below that, well, then we could have a larger correction. But for now, this is the top of reversal pattern playing out. However, if it takes out and especially closing above the all-time highs, well, then we have a different situation where we could push higher towards above 3,800 and 3,900. Silver trading sideways past few days on the spot market. On the futures, we actually have a doji there the day before yesterday, and yesterday slightly negative candle, so it's not that convincing for a doji evening or evening doji top and reversal pattern. However, if we are looking at, and let's go back to the spot again, if we are looking at looking at it historically, we can see where it reached to. It's actually reached the level we talked about, and then a bit actually just around 44 here, spiked up to that. And look, positive sentiment on the weekly, and I don't think there currently is any divergence indicating that we could see it pushing higher depending on where it will close the week. So still bullish trend on it, and but we could see a correction, so be careful also if you're trying to go long in the silver market. Platinum, on the other hand, pushed higher here past few days and took out the spiked above the peak there. So still bullish trend. We talked about it for quite a while that it could do that. Now did it, and 1520 just below it. It's not that strong a resistance anyway, so it could easily take it out and push towards 1570, possibly 1600. But I expect a little bit of a setback. I would do that. Copper also on the move yesterday and continuing today, as we can see here. The underlying rising, or the lower rising trend line there has been tested a couple of times, and then it took off up to the 55 and the 100 moving average. Now it's trying to push up towards the 495 resistance, and RSI back above 60 threshold. I think we will see a push up there, a little bit of a setback, and then it could have another go higher towards 514, 515, and the upper part of the cloud, that would be a little bit of resistance. But yeah, bullish trend confirmed, but do expect it to be volatile. If it slides back below the cloud, we could see a setback testing the lower rising trend line there. On the energy market, we had the past few days some bullish trading in the crude oil, but in the bigger picture, it's still just sideways trading or range trading here, so really not much to talk about. It needs to get, the WTI needs to go close above 66 at least to establish a bullish trend. The Brent needs to close above 69.53, and RSI needs to close back above 60 threshold. However, we have then the 200 moving average coming down there. That would be a bit of a struggle to break that, but of course it can be done here around $70. If it managed to close above and RSI above 60 threshold, there could be potential up to 73, 60 area. European nat gas around the lower rising trend line there, but that's not the most thing apart. This is the support that you need to look out for, 31.60. If it takes out that, then I think we'll see a push down to 30 euros. All moving average declining, so we have a slightly bearish undertone there. The US nat gas bearish trend bouncing a little bit. I still believe we will slide lower, but let's see about it. But we have the 100 coming down, we have the 55, so it's not like I don't see it exploding anytime soon. Then it should be a rare incident that will do that, and still key support resistance there at 319. On the treasuries, the interest rates, we are still in a bouncing mode on the US 10-year. I still believe we could see it bounce up to the 420 area and then rejection. However, if it takes out the lows from yesterday there at 409, then it could slide back to 4%. On the European yields, let's have a look at that. The EU 10-year slowly crawling higher towards the 786 retracement, and RSI crawling towards the 660 threshold. If both closes above and above here, well, then we could see a push up to 280 once again. Otherwise, it is not unlikely it would slide back a little bit. Let's remove this one. It is redundant now. On the UK, well, this morning it's quite volatile, of course, with all the turmoil going on in domestically politics in UK, with the fiscal budget and everything. Moving higher here today. Can it take out? If it takes out the spike up there, well, then we're looking at 475, possibly 480. UK Japanese 10 that spiked higher, but then sitting back. Still, the uptrend is intact. Bitcoin, well, Bitcoin testing again has been for the past few days basically the 61.8 retracement of this uptrend here at 111,355. I wouldn't be surprised to see it being taken out to a push 109,550, possibly low, because look at what's going on in Ethereum. Ethereum has actually established a bearish trend, taking out 4,060, and is sliding lower towards 3,800. Excuse me. And it's 138 projection of this uptrend there, so it's not that strong really. So let's see about that. Could slide all the way down to around the 3,400. All right, that's all for today. Hope you will have a nice day and talk to you again tomorrow.